Hello, good morning, and happy hump day. It's Wednesday, June 25th. Get out there and hump somebody on a hump day. I am Manila Chan. That over there, the party boy, the party animal, the one and only Ted Rall. You're tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, or TMI Show for short, because we, in fact, bring you way too much information. We're live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, so please be sure to hit the like button and the follow button, the subscribe button. You YouTubers, if you're tuning in, we're that close, that close, a Zelensky-size leap away from becoming officially monetized on YouTube. We started the YouTube channel a little after we started the Rumble channel, so we need your help to get there. So, come on. Don't perv watch for free. I mean, you'll still be watching for free, but just hit the subscribe button. That's all. It's free, and it helps us finally get to making some money over on YouTube. So on today's show, the stunning victory of a socialist in New York City who's bound to become mayor, because I know there's still a chance, and we'll explain how that can happen. But we'll explain the stunning upset in the New York City mayoral primary.
Yes, we will.
That's why Ted is partying. That's our main and first topic. We'll also get into a little bit about how we define destroyed, Ted. This is like a Bill Clinton moment, like how he defined sex. How does Trump define destroyed everything in Iran's?
Well, it does rhyme with mildly annoy.
Maybe. So, maybe Trump exaggerated. What? Never.
Well, that's stop the presses. Not that they were running in the first place, but yes.
But Ted, this is, par for the course. We're talking about Donald Trump here. Remember when he slightly exaggerated his building's like whether it's the approximate square footage or the value of all of his buildings in New York City. And granted,
his inauguration attendance.
Well, sure, he's that, or he says his hands are much bigger than they are, which personally,
it's not the size of your inauguration; it's how you use it.
I guess. But on the New York City buildings stuff, on the loans,
it's not the size of your bunker buster that matters.
No harm.
I guess it is actually.
No harm, no foul for New York City buildings because he took out loans, he repaid them, people made money, he made money. He exaggerated a little bit, but this is a little bit different when you're telling the world that you destroyed Iranian nuclear assets. Turns out that may not actually be true. Then we'll go over to NATO. Today is the last and final day of the summit over at The Hague, which is really funny because I think a lot of those people should call The Hague home, but not for, a celebratory reason. They belong in The Hague. So we'll talk about what's happening there at the NATO summit at The Hague, or in Hague, rather, not The Hague. And of course, the whole world's favorite party crasher is there, Volodymyr Zelensky. And he bothered to actually put on his dressiest attire, the same outfit that he wore to the Pope's funeral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't see?
No, generally speaking, Zelensky, like the Clash had that song, I'm so bored with the USA. I'm bored with Zelensky like that. So
I know, but
life is a film. The scene needs to move. This is the same actor I've seen before in a number of previous works. They weren't that good. I'm not seeing this one.
They keep trying to make him a thing. It's like the
John Wick movies. The first one wasn't that great, yet they keep making them.
I like them.
Don't understand.
I'm gonna borrow from
Clueless. Keanu. I like violence, but
I'm gonna borrow from Clueless. Stop trying to make fetch a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And stop trying to make Zelensky a thing because I think everyone's over it. And finally, another big topic that producer Robbie cannot wait to get into: alligator Alcatraz. Built right now. It's going to be ready for use in like a couple of weeks here in Florida. The Trump administration, DHS, struck a deal with the local Florida government. No surprise there with Ron DeSantis to build on this defunct airstrip that's surrounded by alligators and pythons and Florida. It's Florida, right? So it's especially one of those only in Florida stories, but now with more migrants. So we'll explain that to you right now, right after we hit the jaws. So let's get into the news because I know Robbie is champing at the bit.
Before we jaws, I'd like to make a shout out and a thank you to YouTube listener Alora G. Thank you for the donation, much appreciated.
Thank you, Alora.
She said,
I see.
I really like the show. Thanks for your fun and informative work.
Thank you. That's the whole idea is news. We already talk about heavy stuff. The subject matter is actually heavy, but if you don't laugh, you will go crazy, Ted. You and I have worked in news. You and I have worked in news for a long time, and it becomes debilitating when there's only so many raw videos and whatever that you can see of terror attacks and children being blown up and you got to blow off some steam. And I think that's why Ted and I, when we had our old show at Sputnik, that was one of the ideas was, you know what, you gotta laugh about this crazy shit out there, while still giving you the facts and because
Jaws.
That's that.
Let's do it.
All right, let's get to the news.
That's right. Zohran Mamdani is probably going to be the next mayor of the city of New York. He declared victory in New York's Democratic mayoral primary last night after whining bitch Andrew Cuomo conceded the race. Actually, he wasn't a whining bitch, but I'm just
he was actually nice.
He was actually pretty good.
Soundbite.
But he conceded the race in a stunning upset. Just to give you a sense of how stunning this is. We weren't expecting results to be announced until July 1st.
Right.
It was such a rout that we're able to declare Mamdani the winner already. The young, progressive 33-year-old upstart who was virtually unknown when the race began defeated the scandal-scarred former governor. With victory all but assured, Mamdani, whose campaign centered on the high cost of rent and living here in New York City, told supporters, "I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor of New York City. I'll be the mayor for every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for Governor Cuomo, or felt too disillusioned by a long broken political system to vote at all," he said. "I will work to be a mayor you will be proud to call your own." Manila, important thing to understand here. There's some seriously interesting parallels to some of the stuff that's going on the right in the Republican Party. In the same way that Donald Trump became president in 2016 by bringing in non-voters into the Republican Party, people who had never voted. Last night's victory was assured for Mamdani. 25% of his voters are people who have never voted before. And really interesting is, okay, half of those 25% were under the age of 30. Okay, that's not that shocking. Half of them were over the age of 55. That means Gen X is in the house and the young boomers are in the house. And these are people who literally, as I've been saying forever, there is a huge pool of left-wing, in fact, there's far more far-right populists and far more far-left socialists than there are centrist sons of bitches. But only the centrist sons of bitches have parties. They have the Democrats and the Republicans. This is not a democracy because the entire country is not in the middle. It's on the left or on the right. You've got a little tiny minority of assholes who've been lording it over us all these years. And when we get our shit together, the right-wingers started to get their shit together earlier. They're more organized. Now, here in New York City, the lefties are raging. And this is the populist left who has elected this mayor. And we're going to analyze that in a few minutes here. Cuomo, who'd been the front runner throughout, conceded. And he said that he had called Mamdani to congratulate him. Go ahead and roll the tape.
Here's what he said.
But tonight was not our night. Tonight was Assemblyman Mamdani's night, and he put together a great campaign, and he touched young people and inspired people and moved them and got them to come out and vote. And he really ran a highly impactful campaign. I called him, I congratulated him, I applaud him sincerely for his effort, and let's give him a round of applause and thank him for his campaign.
I think that was very gracious and I would say very classy. Very classy. Stay classy, San Diego.
Maybe he needs to call up and concede to all the ladies whose asses he grabbed too. But just saying, he did not run a good campaign. We'll get into that. Mamdani is a member of the New York State Assembly for the last 4 years. He will, if elected in November, become the first Muslim and first Indian or South Asian mayor of the city. Incumbent Mayor Eric Adams blew off the primary because he knew he was going to lose. He's running as an independent in the general election. Cuomo might run as an independent as well. He says we're going to look and make some decisions. Cuomo and Mamdani were a study in political contrasts, with Cuomo, of course, representing the Hillary Clinton corporatist wing of the party, Mamdani representing the Democratic Socialist Bernie progressive side of the party. Cuomo characterized New York City as threatening, out of control. That's accurate. Desperate for an experienced leader who could restore order. That was true a year and a half ago, and he could have closed this deal if he'd run a better campaign. He brought the power of his name. He secured a bunch of endorsements from people like Bill Clinton that probably did him a lot more harm than good.
For sure.
All while political action committees raised about $25 million in cash, which for a New York mayoral campaign is a lot of money. Mamdani, meanwhile, offered an optimistic message that the mayor could make the cost of living lower by freezing the rent, making buses free, and so on. Also, a great idea, very cool, is city-run grocery stores that would sell food just at cost. In other words, they're not interested in making a profit. You would be able to, basically everyone's a Costco member. You could just have a wholesale. Everyone could buy stuff wholesale without having to buy massive quantities of it. This is done in a lot of countries. It'd be a great idea. Obviously, the grocers, corporate grocery stores wouldn't be pleased about this.
Big grocery is going to hate that. You're going to have to contend with Trader Joe, and don't forget
the bros.
The big player in the room, especially in swanky New York City, is Jeff Bezos. Amazon owns Whole Foods, and
that is true.
They dominate the so-called healthy food space.
That's true. Mamdani said that he basically got the progressive wing to coalesce around him. He also owes, I think, a debt to Mr. Lander, who was his opponent. They cross-endorsed, and that also was part of the equation here. I assume that there's a marker there that he'll pay off in a future administration. Anyway, now... Maybe
he'll still be the comptroller or
now
whatever.
A truly vicious campaign that was marked by incredible ethnic stereotyping, scaremongering of Jewish voters, the showing him in a shalwar kameez in attack ads and so on, is going to get really ugly as he goes up to face three primary rivals, possibly Cuomo, certainly Eric Adams, and certainly Curtis Sliwa. This is how strange and fucked up things are now. Curtis Sliwa, who's you may know as the founder of the Guardian Angels, he always wears the cute little red cap, beret. He is probably to the left of either Cuomo or the other corporate candidates. We'll see how this plays out, but definitely scaremongering of Jewish voters is already afoot. It's already started today. But this is a big day in New York City, and you can be damn sure that the DNC is having an emergency meeting to try to figure out how they can kneecap Mamdani. Let's not forget what happened in a while back when Joe Lieberman, the late right-wing Democratic senator from Connecticut, was primaried successfully by a leftist in the Connecticut Senate race. He decided to run as an independent, and the Democratic Party threw money at him and endorsed him against their own nominee because they didn't want a left-winger to be the nominee. So I mean that's how they play. Don't be at all surprised if they end up putting resources behind a Cuomo run or whatever.
Sure. But I still don't think Cuomo's out of the race. I think the general, I wouldn't disqualify the general election yet. I think with the Cuomo big money behind him, and including Mayor or former Mayor Bloomberg and other big DNC officials. Now, to your point, Ted, about this being a war for the Democratic Party, I forget this lady's name that's talking here on stage, but shortly after her, you know who pops up on stage for this Zohran party here? Letitia James.
Don't mess with the Zohran. Don't mess with the Zohran.
Letitia James pops in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of disturbing to me, given her position, and not because, and I've stated this a million times, not because I'm a Trumper, but because her attack on Donald Trump.
You did vote for him.
You keep saying that, and I keep agreeing. You're right. I did. And it's not because I'm a Trumper, but it's not because I'm a Trumper. So don't try to malign me as some sort of Trump fan. Trump, that was a vote against fucking Harris. I was never, and I
voted against Harris too, but I didn't vote for Trump.
Stein was never going to win. Hold on, let me talk. Stein was never going to win. Nobody else in any other party was ever going to win. So this time it was a big fuck you to the Democrats why I voted for Trump. And I mean, that was the end of it. That is as far as my support for Trump goes. So the problem I have with the Democratic
Well,
Party.
this is, by the way, like your vote.
And why
this
I
is
voted
a
for
fuck
Trump.
you vote in a big way.
But she is also like a big fuck you to Letitia James also, because she's part of the problem in the Democratic Party, which to me shows me that she's a grifter and she's over there infiltrating the Zohran party, because it's not really a Democratic Party, right? Like she's over there infiltrating his campaign. She's the one that's from big Democrat money. She's the one. How do you think she had all the funding to go after Donald Trump, to try to go after him for the stupid real estate stuff and whatever?
All right. But Manila, Letitia James isn't the story here.
I don't know.
Okay, Letitia
I don't
James
trust
is
that.
I don't like Letitia James either. I think she's ridiculous. But let's bash Letitia James another time. We have major stuff to talk about here, which is this is a referendum on the future of the Democratic Party. And people might look back and say, okay, well, New York City is a really left-wing city. It's not. We've never elected anyone this far left ever. This is, you'd have to look back to someone like Mayor John Lindsay in the 1960s, and he was just an old-fashioned liberal. He wasn't going to, make the bus free or freeze the rent or anything like that, right? So what this is about the rage of the populist left. Robbie and I were talking last night,
Robbie wants to pop in
offline about how, and I'll go ahead, pop Robbie in, and we were talking, and I was saying, like, this is an example of how we may see a major political realignment that sets aside the old D versus R division, and we may be looking at an alliance between the populist right, the populist left, against the corporate right and the corporate left, and it's a rejection of the establishment. Look at this mailer that I got, right? So this mailer, it's like the New York Times says, this was like the New York Times ran and they ran an anti-editorial. They technically don't endorse anyone in local races anymore, but they ran an editorial just saying, vote for anyone, even Paperboy Love Monster or whatever his name is. They didn't even say not to vote for him, or not to vote for them. And they said, but don't vote for the Zohran, right? So that's how, and they ran all these racist ads. People were like, I was not sure about Mamdani because he's 33 years old. And I was like, that's a little young to be mayor of New York. And then I read the New York Times editorial. I was like, holy shit. The moneyed interests represented by the New York Times are scared to death of him. I'm on board. I'm in. And I talked to many other New Yorkers who said, you know what? That's how I felt. I didn't really know about this guy. But if Mike Bloomberg and all these billionaire landlord asshole sons of bitches turd scumbags are so terrified of him, I'm voting for him. And it's like a Trump vote. It's a fuck you vote. It's a big deal. There is an opportunity for us to reinvent our politics and go populism versus corporatism. I'm not saying it'll be easy or even likely, but it's possible.
Well, it's like what we were talking about yesterday. I mean, we talked to each other for about, 30 minutes or so.
That's right.
And it was just, it was all about this. Mm-hmm. I'm a right winger, and I would have voted for this guy. I don't agree with him on anything, almost nothing. But I would have voted.
Well,
yeah, but I would have voted for him.
Part of what he's for, Robbie, is rainbow flag alphabet people.
Of course, he's a Democrat.
But it's part of the progressive platform, I think. AOC backed him, Bernie backed him.
That's all true, Manila, but his campaign was completely centered on economic issues. He was focused, it could be a Trump campaign. He was focused on inflation and high prices. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to know who else is all about the Rainbow Brigade, it was Donald Trump. I mean, he is credited as being the most pro-homo president in American history. So there you have it. So I'm not going to go for this dude.
I mean, he does have Scott Bessent, right? I mean,
no, but let me tell you why I would have voted for him. One,
and he has Lindsey Graham. She's behind him.
Of course. No, the idea of the rent freeze, for me, that's appealing. Y'all know my situation. But the second thing is, when I was watching him, when Cuomo and all these other people and this talking head asked him, when will you go to Israel? When Zohran said, I'm not going to, I'm actually going to work for the people of New York. I'm like, right there.
Yeah, why does he have to go to Israel?
That's what I want. Why do you have to go there and kiss the star of Rim fan? Why would I do that?
You don't have to. It's not relevant. Israel's not relevant to New York City politics. I mean, the problems we have here are squalid subways, squalid streets, empty storefronts, empty. And here's the thing too. The fix feels like it's in here. I mean, this is a city that's lost almost 750,000 people in 4 years. Okay, so all right, people are leaving
during COVID.
Now, what normally happens, Robbie, in Manila when like 15% of the population dips? You tell me, what happens to the rent usually?
Well, typically it goes down because there's less demand.
That's right. That's what capitalism looks like. And the opposite has happened because the fix is in. And it's like, and people know it. And, it's like people are willing to live in a city that's a little dirty and scrungy if it's a little cheaper, but it ain't.
Or maybe a little bit dangerous. Like, maybe someone will be walking down and someone will play the polar bear game with you, or push you in front of a train, or stab you, or especially for a little Asian lady, maybe have some thug just beat the hell out of you. It's just part of the New York tax.
But I gotta ask, I don't know the exact details of this guy's campaign. Obviously, like it's your city.
Yep.
I'm curious to know what the black turnout looked like. Where did they vote?
That's a great question, Manila. I'm glad you brought it up. So, what's his name from Jim Clyburn, who the toxic bastard who helped give us Joe Biden in 2020, the Democratic Black Party boss from North Carolina. He pushed hard and endorsed
South Carolina
Cuomo in this race.
Oh, he endorsed Cuomo.
He did, and he pushed for the black vote to turn out for Cuomo. If you look at the map of the turnout, Cuomo prevailed in the outer parts of Brooklyn that are places like Flatbush, Bed-Stuy, in the black neighborhoods out in the hinterlands, in places like the Tremont section of the Bronx. So Zohran carried ironically, the more prosperous, whiter, more Latino and Asian areas of the city. Cuomo carried this, you could say, the blacker areas, not really necessarily more working class, but there is some overlap there. So the black vote is a machine vote, and it went for Cuomo. So without that money, that wouldn't have happened. The turnout would have been even bigger here for Zohran. I mean, this is an epic sweep. I mean, it's impossible to overstate what a stunning blow this is to the establishment. We should probably talk a little bit about who Zohran is too, right?
Real quick, I want to point out the numbers. So Mamdani finished this first round of ranked choice voting with 43.51% of the votes. Cuomo landed at 36.42%. And the comptroller, Brad Lander, he got 11.3%. So that equates to roughly 432,000 votes for Mamdani and 362,000 for Cuomo. And since none of the candidates racked up 50%, they needed to secure 50% because of this ranked choice voting. The contest will officially be concluded. I don't know how or why.
We talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, you explained it, but it's still like, it's so convoluted. I'm somebody else's vote's going to get moved to, so they still have to officially tabulate to get to 50%.
Yeah,
so
but that's right. But there's
certified?
no way you can possibly, that there's no route. The margin of difference of victory for Mamdani is so big that Cuomo can't overcome it under the
right.
most
he
optimistic
conceded.
scenarios.
And he conceded. So that's,
So I have a question for you, Ted. I mean, just how New York, the governance in New York works. I've never been there. I don't know.
Good question.
So let's just say this dude gets elected mayor. I'm going to assume that New York has like a city council or something.
Does.
So how can he actually push through the reforms that he wants to have done?
It's a great question. So traditionally, the mayor of the city of New York has been a weak position. It's a weak mayoralty compared to other cities. That's changed a little bit. When Michael Bloomberg was mayor, he made some reforms, and the most notable one is he seized control of the Board of Education. So now he controls the nation's second largest school district. LA is the biggest. And so there's about 1 million kids in the New York City public school system, not to mention, their parents, right? So are affected by this. That's a huge locus of power in this city, the teachers' unions and janitors' unions and all that. But for the most part, the way that a New York City mayor gets things done is they cultivate a strong relationship with the governor, because the governor controls the purse strings up in Albany for things like the MTA, the subway, and all that. But also, and that's going to be Zohran's biggest challenge, is to work with Kathy Hochul, who's a right-wing Democrat. She's to the right. She's to the right of Cuomo. He picked her to balance his relatively. She was lieutenant governor. And he picked her to balance the ticket. Right. He was the liberal compared to her. So it's going to be hard to see. But maybe if Zohran can do a personal reach out and touch base with her, and pour on the charm, they might be able to get some stuff done. The city council is the real power in the city. And
let's not forget how unpopular they all were, Ted, after all the migrants. At first, remember, Mayor Adams was like, this is, a safe city for migrants. Like, we'll take your people. So he tried to have a pissing contest with Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott. And so they said, okay, I raise you, the 1,200 migrants with 30,000 migrants. What are you going to do about it? 50,000 migrants. What are you going to do about it? And before you knew it, Mayor Adams collapsed under the weight of all the migrants. They're running all over the city. They're doing all of these things. And they were starting to take up, high school gyms and elementary school gyms. And the moms over in Brooklyn,
that's not true anymore, though.
That
process has been, ever since Biden tightened up the border right before in the closing months of his campaign, and Trump maintained that policy. Those migrants have cycled through and either are being deported or are in hiding or have been approved. I think there's, it's not, that's no longer the situation. I want to point out, to Robbie's point, the city council is far more to the left than the mayor has been ever. So this is a mayor who's going to align more with the left-wing, very progressive city council. So they're going to support him. And also the Democratic Socialist ticket swept through city council as well. There's only been one major defeat of a Democratic Socialist. That was in the comptroller's race where they didn't win. So, that's. So I think this is going to be he's going to get some things done if he gets through November, but it's going to be an ugly campaign.
Yeah. Okay. Robbie says we gotta hit a word from our sponsor before we move on to the next topic.
And we'll do that, and then I want to sort of talk a little bit about who he is, and then we should go to the next topic. All right, where's that thing? Okay, here we go. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check. The smooth, medium roast and vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip. Sorry about that, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting blah, 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 blah. I already did that. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine, from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. So, quick bio of a possible mayor-elect, Democratic primary nominee. Mamdani, born in Uganda, His mom is a famous film director. He won't be president. He was born in Uganda.
Okay.
He's net worth about $200,000. He owns a little bit of land in Uganda that he bought recently. That's all he has. He doesn't have a car, rents an apartment, rent-controlled apartment, rent-stabilized apartment. He's lucky enough to, he lives out, I think, in Queens. He went, like me, to an unaccredited university called Columbia University. He also went to Bronx Science, like a lot of little brown striver kids here in New York City. That's one of the elite public schools for gifted math and science kids.
Oh. He's Indian, Ted.
He did go to an elite private elementary school that costs currently about $66,000 a year, but he probably got a little bit of assistance. His mom's a director, but not like, she's not Spielberg.
Right. I was just going to say that.
But so basically, I would say this is a typical like immigrant story, striving second generation, focused on academics. And that's basically where he comes from.
No, he's first gen. He came here as an immigrant child.
Well, that's true. But, as a little kid, right? So, but basically, he's fully Americanized, and he's ethnically Indian, and he's a Muslim. So
that's scary, Ted.
Yeah,
and
yet 20% of the city's Jews voted for him.
Well,
wow.
As the fundamentalist Christian here on the show, I just want to point out that I don't care that he's Muslim, because every Republican, like look at you, Lindsey Graham and George Bush, you're Christian every 2 or 4 years. And you just enabled genocide. So I have no problem with voting for this guy. He's not a tranny. I'll vote for. I can overlook the religious indiscretions.
Yeah, and I also seriously doubt that. I'll look into this. I doubt Mamdani's a regular at the mosque any more than Trump is a regular at church. He's a secular Muslim. This guy.
Muslim in name only.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going here.
No, that's like Ted and I saying we're Catholics, but in name only.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
I don't go to mass.
We carry the Catholic guilt and all of that stuff, and Christmas is nice, Ted.
I still believe in a lot of it, but it's like
yeah.
All right, here we go.
Robbie has some condemnation for us as Catholics, so I'm gonna mute Robbie. I'm gonna kick him off the screen.
I have what?
Condemnation for us.
For what?
Catholics.
I mean, y'all just worshiping idols. I mean, that's on you. I mean, listen, that praying to dead people does you no good. And
I still can't believe nobody. Speaking of idols, nobody was ever able to identify this guy.
Oh, no one did. So, okay, you have to tell us. What the hell is that?
This is Eugene Debs.
Really? Why do you have that? Ted has weird tchotchkes. If you're not
Eugene
familiar.
Debs
Anyway,
is my patron saint.
Okay, Robbie, I'm sending you to the back. We'll be bringing you back in a little bit to talk about your home state.
Oh yeah,
of course,
that's true.
Florida.
All right. Okay, off to the races here. A U.S. intelligence report hilariously suggests that after Donald Trump risked World War III, the nuclear program in Iran has only been set back, wait for it, a few months after the U.S. airstrikes, and actually was not, quote unquote, completely and fully obliterated at all.
No, bigly. It was bigly obliterated.
Not even a little bit. The report leaked from the Defense Intelligence Agency contradicts, to say the least, Trump and Netanyahu. According to this report, it turns out that although the strikes against the Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear sites did cause a hell of a mess, the contractors are going to be busy out there. The facilities were far from destroyed. The U.S. had held out hope of restarting negotiations for Iran to give up its nuke program. But now experts think that Tehran will probably move toward developing a functioning weapon faster than they would have otherwise. So, in other words, Bibi got Trump to do a really, really, really dumb thing. If I'm Trump, I'm not taking Bibi's calls anymore, although if I'm Trump, I would have never taken Bibi's calls. But anyway, the assessment suggests, the DIA assessment also says that at least some of the highly enriched uranium that would be needed to make a nuclear weapon was moved out of those sites before the U.S. bombings. and has survived. Some of it's in the Ayatollah's refrigerator. Some of it is under the sofa cushions. And it also found out that Iran's controversial centrifuges are also intact, according to the DIA. At the deeply buried Fordo uranium enrichment plant, where B-2 stealth bombers dropped 12 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs, the entrance collapsed and the infrastructure was damaged, but the underground infrastructure was not destroyed, according to the DIA report. In fact, the DIA had said, guys, this is probably what's going to happen, and this is what happened. So this is, to say the least, very, 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 very bad for the administration, Manila. I mean, it couldn't be worse. It's such a fucking embarrassment for Trump. It's ridiculous. I think it's the biggest embarrassment of his presidency so far. And that's saying something. Yeah. I am totally in Nelson mode right now.
Very much.
But it's like, so basically, so Donald, you risked World War III to break the door? That's what you did? Basically, you broke the door. You fucking idiot. So anyway, the White House, however, pushed back on this, calling it flat out wrong. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement designed to deflect from, the point. Everybody knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets. Total obliteration. Not really, apparently. The Iranians know what kind of bombs we have, and they obviously chose to dig their hole deep enough into the mountain to not have to worry about it.
As I mentioned yesterday, I have not seen any of the receipts. I have not seen any official assessments. Trump has deferred to...
Now you have.
Trump has deferred to the homie Netanyahu, saying, I'm sure Israel is going to have some feet on the ground to assess it. So presumably, maybe, I don't know, maybe he means like Mossad agents are there already and they'll figure it out for him because he has no idea. I honestly really think Trump has no idea.
Iran is Mossad agents. So, that's already possible. The Ayatollah may be working for the Mossad for all we know.
No idea.
That's how Iran is keeping their economy going with that Mossad money.
Who knows? I haven't seen any proof. Like, if the IDF is going to be showing up in these Gazan tunnels with, their helmet cams showing like all of this, whatever, like these bunkers and whatever. Well, why haven't we seen it yet from Iran? If this was like your most threatening, scary boogeyman, shouldn't you have some sort of helmet cam or
Manila,
pen cam or
what
something?
Happened here is, look, with the benefit of hindsight, it's very clear that we've seen a completely performative war. The only people who are just genuinely out to kill as many as they can are the Israelis. But the Iranians, they like let Israel know and Qatar know when they launch missiles. They're like, hey guys, so at 8:15 tonight, don't look out for exactly 180 missiles that we will be launching at 8:15 tonight. Don't look for them at all from your exact northeast. Don't look for those. So that's kind of like, so the Iranians have been giving a heads up to the Israelis so they can intercept their missiles. They're just shooting missiles for domestic consumption. Look, we're fighting the Zionist entity. And then Trump also, it turns out, look, this wasn't a sneak attack. I mean, the Trumpies told the world where they were going to bomb. What, are they going to bomb Fordo? Are they going to bomb Fordo? When are they going to bomb Fordo? That's maybe not what you would do if you were trying to catch them by surprise, right?
He's in the Situation Room, like texting the Ayatollah, being like, okay,
how's it hanging,
the first
Tommy?
B-52 is about 3 minutes away. Like,
Cammy, just want to give you a heads up. Love your beard. Love the whole towel head thing.
Love the
look you've got going. Keep it up. Looking good. We'll be talking soon. So yeah,
you're doing way better than Joe Biden at that age.
This is totally like the story I always talk about how in ancient times the Assyrians and the Hittites gathered,
Right.
their armies and counted up the
Yes.
people, and they didn't have the battles because they were just like, hey, maybe it's a smarter way to do war. It's like, but on the other hand, $500 million fucking dollars for this
I know.
bombing of Fordo.
For a fireworks show.
Meanwhile, I've got people sleeping outside my fucking door who haven't had a meal in a year. It's just like, or a proper
True
meal,
story.
I should say.
True
the one that
story.
didn't come out of a garbage can.
All right.
So the CIA and the DNI, that's Tulsi, declined to comment. These days, if I were Tulsi, I wouldn't comment at all about anything.
I know.
Because she's out on the outs with the administration.
What a disappointment. No. She tried to rein herself back
Yeah.
in and get
she's still
herself
on
back
the
in the
outs.
good graces.
Yeah,
But
she's like slurbling. She's sucking.
yeah, but for the rest of us who had hopes that she might actually feed POTUS some real facts,
Mm-hmm.
she just fell in line like a good soldier that she is.
Hashtag sad.
Yeah.
Trump envoy Steve Witkoff, who said that he had read the damage assessment reports, said that the strikes had deprived Iran of its ability to develop a weapon, and called it outrageous that the U.S. assessment was shared with reporters. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated.
Develop the weapon that they were never developing, according to the DNI's
correct
congressional testimony in March.
But Manila, here's the funny part, right? It's like this report is totally false, and anyone who leaked this false report is a traitor.
Like, wait, if it's false,
Mm-hmm.
is it a leak?
Well, yeah, I mean,
is it really a leak if you're just bullshitting the press?
Well, if it's not true, then why is it classified? I mean, what, is bullshit classified now? I mean,
Ted, your logic is not permitted in this administration.
No. Or apparently in the media, because the media doesn't even point out. You know how the media like always says, every time Trump talks about like, yesterday we answered that question from the young viewer about like how you can tell
Ricky.
the media is, Rick, oh, good memory. That, how can you tell they're lying, right? And it's like, every time they talk about like the nuclear program, it's always like the program. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's. Oh yeah, sorry. When they talk about Trump's, I remember what I was going to say about Trump's repeatedly discredited claims that he won the 2020 election. That's how they always say that, right? And it's like, well, the media could say the inherently illogical claim that this is a leak of classified data. You can't say that the data is wrong and then say at the same time it shouldn't have been leaked. You really can't.
That's right. So, like somebody allegedly told the press bullshit, so I'm going to investigate.
Right. Yeah, and also don't besmirch our brave pilots who snuck into a country that has no planes in the air at all.
I just can't. You just can't. So Ted, just remember this before we go to
pilots. And it's like we weren't besmirching your pilots. Stop besmirching.
The thing here is, Ted, every time. So this is a thing for all our non-American friends watching. This is a true story. This is just a demonstrable fact. Every time an American POTUS lies, an angel gets her wings.
Well, there must be billions of winged angels now.
It's true. It is true. It is true.
Now,
cherubs, the little babies, everything. Everybody gets their wings.
Every time would love to have his wings as Clovis.
Oh, so
wouldn't it be cute to see like a cat flying around? I guess they'd be unstoppable. They would rule the world then if they could fly.
That's like cat terror. No,
not good. All right, NATO leaders are expected to agree to. Speaking of bullshit, this is awesome. So NATO leaders are expected to agree to ramp up their defense spending when their summit concludes today. Countries might commit to spending 5% of their GDP on defense by the year 2035, up from the current 2% target, which 22 out of the 32 countries have already done. This is in response to Trump, who keeps bitching about how the Euros aren't spending enough for their defense. The U.S. is one of NATO's biggest contributors, which makes sense since we created the whole thing, responsible for roughly 16% of the $3.5 billion annual budget last year. It's the only country to have triggered Article 5, which assures collective defense for all member countries. Spain struck a deal with NATO to be exempted, instead committing only 2.1% of its GDP to defense. So Manila, speaking of bullshit, what exactly is NATO so scared about? Are they worried that the penguins are going to attack from South America? No, I don't think so. Are they worried, they're worried about Turkey? No. They're worried about big, bad Russia. And guys, you really don't have to worry. Putin's not coming for you. He's not coming. He doesn't care about you at all.
He's new Hitler. Vladimir Putin is new Adolf Hitler. And he wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union. Didn't you get the memo?
Even though there's no evidence, and he keeps saying that he doesn't want to, and that you'd have to be a tard to do it. But yes, aside from everything that's been said in public, and all the evidence and the logic behind it, it's totally true.
And obviously, it is Russia's unprovoked war.
Full-scale invasion. Don't forget that.
Full-scale invasion.
Full-scale.
That's right. Unprovoked, full-scale invasion.
As Robbie points out, Trump is the one threatening two NATO nations right now. Canada and Denmark.
That's true. So this guy, again, look, he unbuttoned his formal attire when he crashed the speech. So again, the whole crux of why this happened was 3.5 years ago at the Munich Security Conference. Then Vice President Kamala Harris went there and said, we are extending our invitation for Ukraine to join NATO.
That was a good
3.5 years ago.
That was really good. Thank you.
So this is
like right there. I kind of got chills. I suddenly flashed back to my contempt for her when you were.
It's a California thing.
Oh.
And you have to very much extend the end of each word because then they know you're serious. And so she was seriously inviting this guy.
That's maybe why no California woman will ever be elected president. No one wants to hear that voice.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know. I have no idea.
Barbara Boxer sounded like that. You're right.
Yeah, it's. I feel like it's like diplomat school in California or something that they teach the women in particular. Because Gavin Newsom doesn't talk like that, but the women from the state that hold high offices, they all deliver. Think of Hillary Clinton, and they all talk like this. And granted, maybe she did that when she went to California.
Hillary's not from California.
No, but when she went to California, she would. That's how, I don't know. I don't know what it is in the California women's water in our bathroom. I don't know. Although now everyone's allowed in our bathrooms. Very confusing. So I don't know. I don't know why the women talk like that. But anyway, she goes to Munich a few years ago and invites this douchebag to join NATO. Unprovoked, obviously, Ted, for the Russians. Totally unprovoked, even though the Russians have been saying since the days of Bill Burns, when he was the Ukrainian, the Russian ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Russia, when he specifically wired back in the communique, I'm paraphrasing, this is the fucking red line, dumbasses. Don't do it. But he said in his very nice diplomatic speak, right? Like, niet means niet. But that's what that meant, was don't fucking do it. That's what niet means niet. Translation, don't fucking do it. Right. But then they went ahead and did it anyway. And so fast forward a few months after Harris invites this Momo to the party, he's back at the actual conference. So Ted, that is only gonna infuriate Vladimir Putin even more. So if Trump wanted this thing to come to a conclusion finally, he really, really, really should have said, Mark Rutte, hey, asshole, don't invite this guy. because you're going to piss off Putin while I'm trying to win the Nobel Peace Prize here. And, you know, he dropped the F-bomb. He needs to drop the F-bomb again on Mark Rutte while he's there and say, why did you invite this ass clown? You're going to piss off the Russians even more. I'm trying to make a peace deal. I'm trying to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And this asshat is giving a speech. He's not a member of NATO. He should never be a member of NATO.
To piss off. Honestly, I take your point. I don't think he should have been invited. I mean, what does he have to fucking say? But I mean, the point is that I think the Russians are plenty pissed off as it is. It's probably. I don't think this one additional indignity is going to really move.
No, I don't think it's that. I think how Vladimir Putin's going to read this is that they are going to try to circumvent NATO's own charters to find a way to get this clown into the group. I feel like as a, you know,
yeah, they could do something like they could give Ukraine. Here's my what I smell is junior membership, like creating
they're going to create some bullshit
new category, right? Like you're part of like the Webelos part of NATO,
right? Your NATO apprentice program or something, you know, like where we don't give you
NATO
full
Light.
Article 5. Your NATO Light, you don't get
NATO,
full Article
NATO
5.
Free Edition doesn't have all the features.
That's true. You don't get full membership features, so you don't get full Article 5. You only get 3 members of NATO.
Article 2.5.
Right. So I feel like if I were Vladimir Putin, that's how I would be reading this, is something is up, because Mark Rutte, as we know, is vehemently anti-Russian. He's said it over and over. And Ursula von der Leyen was there giving a speech, rearing her ugly head, again, pushing for the war to continue, completely antithetical to what Donald Trump claims he's trying to do. So if he's over there, now he's got these morons to bump up 5% of their GDP when they weren't even paying 2%, but now suddenly they want to pay 5%. We should be pissed for a myriad of reasons as Americans. Like, we should not, if we want to save you want to put Doge on something, put Doge on NATO. We're footing the bill for European security. If they're worried about Russia, let them worry about Russia. Let them worry. We're paying more than 5%, Ted. We give way more money to NATO than 2%, than 5%. And it comes in fits and spurts. And if Doge is still, I don't know if it's still actually actively functioning without, the head of it, without Elon Musk being in there and being on the outs with Donald Trump. Oh, side note, Big Balls quit today.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Balls, the 19-year-old hacker extraordinaire who nobody knows his real name, but that goes by Big Balls.
Nor do we know whether this is truth in advertising or not.
Allegedly, because he's an official government
might
employee.
Be mediocre. We don't know.
It could be. But young Big Balls has quit today, simultaneously while Trump's out of town. Zelensky's, giving the speech. I don't know. Doge was not thrilled, I heard, about NATO, but they couldn't do anything about it.
What do you mean, not thrilled about NATO?
Because we foot the bill for everybody's security, Ted. It's not. We give well beyond our 2% membership dues.
Security. What fucking security? Against whom? It's the fever dream of mad, paranoid lunatics. NATO is not. When in the history of NATO has NATO fended off a threat against any member state? You tell me. Hasn't
NATO bombed
once.
Belgrade. The Belgradians were very dangerous.
So in other words, they attacked themselves.
The Belgradians in particular, not the Serbs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The Belgradians.
The Belgradias.
Seriously,
dangerous. When has NATO defended? I mean, the whole purpose of NATO was to defend a European country, Western Europe, from the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War. That was the purpose. And then after that purpose, it was like supposedly to repel, I don't know, the Chinese or whatever, the dirty Iranians, something, the Russians. When has that happened? It's literally never, Manila, it's never happened. Right?
Just this
am I missing something? Has that
there's
ever
been no
happened?
use. Look, after the fall of this, the whole reason that NATO exists was to counter the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union fell in 1991, thus ceasing the need to have this organization. This organization now its sole existence is there to create the conditions to keep justifying its existence. So it's like this, the snake eating its own tail. So this is like just such an annoying. I just hate looking here because this is why the war will never end. NATO is continually fanning flames, and if Trump was smart while he's there at this summit, then he should actually pull this guy aside and say, dude, I get what you're trying to do. I appreciate it, but nothing doing. We are effectively the head of NATO, the U.S. You're not going to join. Thanks for the speech. Nice to see you at dinner. Goodbye. Like, goodbye. You're not going to be even a junior member. You're not even going to be. It's just not going to happen.
Manila, it is such a grift. I mean, so, do you want to take a guess? Because I just looked it up. How much has been spent on NATO since its founding? During which it has literally not done anything to defend Europe. Nothing. How much money do you think it's been spent since its founding? I mean, I'll give you a hint.
Since its founding?
Yeah, since its founding. Total. Hint. It's a lot.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I can't even
guess. Please.
Imagine. Well,
guess.
I know that Trump was really pissed. Trump 45 was really pissed at Germany because back then Germany was still the economic powerhouse in the EU and de facto leader of the European Union.
On, take a guess. Give me a number because I'm going to tell you.
They weren't paying.
You're going to freak out.
They were paying sub 2%. So are we talking total members or just
total.
America?
Total.
Since its inception? So
yeah, it's like impossible to fathom. Here, I'll just tell you.
$200 trillion?
Okay, it's not that much. It's between $5 and $15 trillion. Okay, so I asked, what does $10 trillion, which is the average of those amounts, what would $10 trillion get you? So the most expensive yacht in the world is $600 million. You could buy 16 million of those.
16 million. Okay.
Eliminating all poverty on Earth requires about $1 trillion a year. So you could do that.
Wow, that's it?
You could do that for about 10 years. Yep. Well, that's because capitalism wants poverty. It's the entire GDP of Japan plus Germany. So you could buy your own Axis.
Okay.
That's kind of cool, I would think.
They're just putting up all this money.
You could buy 25 million homes in the U.S., housing 75 million people, or nearly the entire U.S. population in modest homes.
Huh.
That's a lot.
That's a
you
lot
could
of
buy
money.
14. You could build 14 new equivalents of the Hoover Dam.
This is just so much money.
You could build enough solar capacity to power the entire U.S. several times over.
So, whole point here,
we could go to the moon 100 times.
So the whole point of this mathematical exercise to put that into perspective.
What a fucking obscene waste of money and resources.
Obscene waste of money to make this fake boogeyman in Russia, in Vladimir Putin. It is a grift. It is a money laundering scheme. It is to keep the defense agencies of every country, keep their palms greased, taking away from the social welfare of every country. Now, Spain, we should note the reason. So 2% is the bare minimum membership dues every year, Ted, 2% GDP. Spain has agreed to only 2.1. They upped it a teeny tiny bit because they're kind of in economic turmoil. And their economy is kind of in a tough spot right now. Spain is also right now in the position of, well, we need tourism dollars, but the locals, especially in the Catalan region, are non-violently but still attacking tourists because, to Robbie's point about the expensive rents going up because of out-of-towners and people buying vacation homes or what have you, all of the tourism that much of Spain's economy depends on is actually driving up prices for the locals, for the Spaniards themselves. And they are being priced out of their own homes, their own communities. So Spain's kind of in this difficult position with their inflation and whatever. So they're like, we can't afford to do 5%. We'll up it 0.1%. So that's proof right there that a first world nation, a European nation, a beautiful nation. I love going to Spain. Beautiful place that cannot afford to keep paying membership dues for. Who's going to attack Spain, Ted? Who's going to attack Spain?
Nobody. I know, the Moors.
I guess. I mean,
we better go to Alligator Alcatraz because I've got a DMZ coming up in 24 minutes. So
all right. This is a Robbie story.
All right, Alligator Alcatraz, an immigrant detention facility located at an isolated Everglades airfield, surrounded by mosquito, python, and alligator-filled swamps, is just away from being operational. That, according to the feds, Florida officials are racing ahead with the construction of what they call Alligator Alcatraz, classy Florida, to help carry out Trump's mass deportation agenda, working to build a compound of heavy-duty tents, trailers, and temporary buildings similar to sites used during natural disasters. The construction of the facility in the remote and ecologically sensitive wetland 45 miles west of Miami is pissing off environmentalists as well as human rights advocates. State officials say it's critical to crack down on immigration. Construction in the middle of summer, not that it gets hot in the Everglades in Florida in the summer, is part of the plan to operationalize 5,000 immigration detention beds by early July, according to the state AG, former chief of staff for DeSantis, and a key architect of Florida's own immigration enforcement program. He also helped coordinate the state-funded flight of 50 Venezuelans to Martha's Vineyard 3 years ago. You'll remember that. In the eyes of the Floridians, the harsh conditions and its 10,500-foot runway make it ideal. We don't need a lot of brick and mortar, and thankfully, Mother Nature does a lot on the perimeter. There's really nowhere to go. If you're detained there, there's no way in, no way out. The Trump administration wants to double its 41,000 beds for detaining migrants to at least 100,000. That's totally not there in Florida. 50 years ago, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and other environmentalists rallied to stop that same place from being turned into what was going to be the biggest airport on Earth. Now they're pissed off about this. Surrounded by Everglades National Park and Big Cypress National Preserve, this land is one of the most fragile ecosystems in the country. That's actually true. Read a statement from the advocacy group Friends of the Everglades. Let's not repeat the mistakes of the past. This land deserves lasting protection. Democratic Rep. Maxwell Frost said that the apparent use of alligators as a security measure is a cruel spectacle. Managing the facility via a team of vendors will cost $245 per bed per day. I guess they didn't want to just put them up at the Marriott, which would have been cheaper, or approximately $450 million a year. The expenses will be paid for by Florida and reimbursed by FEMA. I'm confused. I thought FEMA was about to be abolished, which has a $625 million shelter and service program fund. Immigrants arrested by Florida cops will be held at the facility, as well as immigrants in the custody of people who claim to work for ICE, although there's no proof. They just dress like it, goons. They wear masks and because they're a bunch of
they dress in Amazon uniforms.
I want to point out these are not immigrants. These are illegal migrants. So the language matters, the verbiage matters, and I don't understand why the tree huggers are pissed off. This is an ecologically sound solution.
These are the swamp lovers, not tree lovers.
Right. These are the people that love the gators.
Listen, as someone who grew up in Florida, I can assure you that there are trees in swamps. I've seen lots of them.
Mangroves.
So I speak from experience in this particular matter. This is an ecologically sound solution.
How is this ecologically sound if the environmentalists say it's bad?
Because they're lying.
Well, they were against the airport. The airport, you could say like maybe they're covering up for their pro-immigrant.
But that's like a permanent installation. This is like migrant tenting.
Well, and as far as the housing costs, I mean,
but those innocent pythons will be displaced and have no place to go.
Well, then we're
going to have to find housing for them.
When another thing that you can do is that you always just go to the Seminole Nation down there and put bounties on the migrants. As they start going across, they can just bring in scalps like they used to do back in the day and just pay them $50 per scalp.
Oh,
listen, I have no problem with any of this. If I had voted for Trump,
no problem.
If I had voted for Trump, this is what I would have voted for. For the record, I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Dr. Shiva because the dude is insane.
Out of curiosity,
because he was on the show.
That's true. I think, frankly, your vote is more defensible than Manila's. Let me just say, but like in terms of Robbie, look, why would you be in favor of this? Don't you want to deport them instead of paying $245 a night to have them stay basically at an expensive resort in the Everglades?
No,
wouldn't you rather deport them?
More
it seems like a waste of money.
It's a shitty summer camp. That's what it is. A shitty summer camp with mosquitoes and dengue and gators and mosquitoes.
Well, let me answer Ted's question. Yes, I would prefer a mass roundup, mass deportation. Countries don't take their migrants back, cut off all their remittances, cut off all their foreign aid, economically crush them until they start taking back their people. Now, if the illegal immigrant lobby in D.C. is going to force us to have trials for each and every migrant that's here illegally, that's fine. They can go to the Everglades. They can feed the alligators.
We do need a trial because honestly, you don't know. The point of due process is you don't know if they're here legally or not.
Well, then quit crying. I mean, while they're waiting for the court date, they can.
And you can't put people. If you put people in a remote place where they don't have access to the courts or to their attorneys can't get there, effectively you are denying justice and you're slowing down the legal process too. I mean, it's better to just honestly, I don't understand the whole we can't process these people through the courts because we don't have enough staff. So hire some fucking staff. Do that. Hire fewer ICE officers, hire more judges and immigration courts and process them, right? If that's what that's what you're trying to do.
Ted,
I don't want to hold people illegally. I'd much rather deport people. I don't want to deport all these people, but I'd much rather deport people than hold them indefinitely.
So, Robbie, does
I completely agree with you.
Tons of illegal migrants there?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Because I obviously I'm from a border state. I only think of California, Arizona, and Texas, and I've lived in 2 of those 3 border states. I don't often think of Florida as a place where the migrants are.
Manila, here's the dirty little secret. Every state in the country is a border state because these people, they come in, they go to all of the states, you get flown in. I mean, there's a reason why I have Haitians eating cats in Ohio, okay? I mean, Ohio is not a border state. Now it is. So,
technically, Ohio is a border state with the most dangerous of our dangerous enemy to the north.
Well, no, because Canada is going to be annexed, so this will become the 51st state. So that will no longer be an issue. But currently, I mean, I guess
that threat will be neutralized. Thank God.
I completely agree. I know here in Montana, it's a major problem with those Canadians.
You can't sleep soundly knowing that they're right there.
I mean, I would have every Californian rounded up this year in Montana and ship them down to the Everglades. I'm just saying. I mean, just send them all down there.
Illegal Californians?
Yes.
By the way, I will say, okay, as outlandish as this all is, it's hardly unprecedented. Okay, there are tons of jails and prisons, even for domestic U.S. citizens, that are in inhospitable places that are put there in large part so that they don't have access to counsel, and I mean,
Right.
it's also to bring economic development to parts of the country that don't have anything else. The prison hires some jobs, but it's also, you know, if you escape,
Program.
it's hard for you to get away. Like when you drive across Nevada, there's a few places where you'll be signs that say "Don't pick up hitchhikers," and you come over the rise and you see the big prison in the middle of the desert, and you're like, if you got out of that prison, you'd probably die of thirst within a few hours because it's it's the desert. So, I mean, there's a lot of places in this country that are in very remote places. Prisons like that.
Well, the state prison here in Montana is in Deer Lodge, Montana. There's a reason why it's there. It's
What's
because
in Deer Lodge, Montana?
Absolutely nothing. If you break out of the prison, you go with God, because wolves or bears. There's all kinds of critters, and Montana will kill you.
And
Montana's a beautiful place. It will kill you. Oh yeah. So go with God. Do as you will.
It was 40 degrees there, like a few days ago.
The other day, right?
Well, it snowed on Saturday, but now
let's not forget though. The whole point to this alligator
92 degrees here in New York City, going up to 96.
Is that that's fine. Like I don't love what Trump is doing with the migrants. I'm for the strong borders. I'm for the stronger borders.
Manila, you literally voted for this.
The way we for strong borders, yes. And you approve of that. But you're approving of this very thing right here. So, don't hide behind your Dr. Shiva vote. This is something that you actually support. So
yes,
here's the thing. I told you all that my vote was literally just a fuck you to Harris Biden or Biden Harris.
Manila, that's a ridiculous argument. I have to call
I'm a registered Democrat.
You've been saying that.
I'm a registered Democrat, and they saw that I voted.
So if
Trump.
I voted for Hitler in the 1933 election, but I'm like, I crossed my fingers and I actually love Jews.
I didn't say that.
It's like
I didn't say
doesn't count. History just looks at who Ted Rall voted for Hitler at the end, right?
That's fine. There are some things. That I probably
Jean-Paul Sartre said we are judged by our actions, not our theoretical message we were trying to send through our actions that nobody got.
I have all these other actions that prove otherwise. That I have other things that are more valid to why my existence and what I'm talking about, other than saying one big fuck you. You know what? Like, my vote doesn't fucking count anyway, because where I live in Northern Virginia is ardently fucking blue. It doesn't fucking matter.
If your vote doesn't count, then why did you make it?
Because because every national election is local, and the local DNC, of which I'm a registered Democrat, they will have seen X amount of Democrats here voted against. They'll understand that it was a vote against their candidate.
Think that you're a racist.
But one thing
wait, let me make my point about this whole fucking place. 39 square miles of whatever this Florida state-owned land.
It's a park. It's a national park.
The point is they are doing this is a Florida thing. This is not a Trump thing. This is a Florida thing. This is a Ron DeSantis thing. He is doing something so unjustifiably inhumane that I don't know what the numbers are in Florida, because again, I'm from the West Coast. I know what numbers look like in California and even Arizona and maybe some in Texas. I don't know how bad the situation is in Florida, but to construct this and pay that much money and then try to recoup that money from FEMA, I don't understand what the political thinking is here for Ron DeSantis and his AG.
I can explain that to you.
Look,
I would do this.
You're from California. You remember your neighboring state, Arizona. Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Sheriff Joe.
From Maricopa County, right there around Phoenix.
Yeah, I was a news anchor at CBS out there.
Yeah, I got to see him speak pretty early on before he became a national figure. Anyway, Sheriff Joe was famous for basically deporting criminals and ne'er-do-wells
and putting them in pink
tent cities in the middle of the desert,
in pink outfits,
they wearing pink underwear to humiliate them, I guess. And the thing is, some of them died from heat stroke and heat exhaustion. And he didn't care. And he was very popular because, look at me, I'm tough on crime, I'm mean to the criminals, I'm not coddling the criminals. That's what this is. It's the same sort of thing. I'm going to be mean and cruel to the migrants and to the immigrants, and treat them like shit, and the voters are going to love it. And DeSantis and Trump are probably right. They probably will love it. But it's all good fun until some really adorable little girl dies due to heat stroke in the desert or gets dengue fever or something and dies. Then it's all good fun until people who are cute and adorable start to die.
Now, one thing I would like to point out is that these people, they do have the ability, they have the right to self-deport and go back home. No one is making them stay here. They can go home.
Well, if you don't want, if home is here. I mean, Robbie, there are immigrants, there are illegal immigrants, and there are illegal immigrants. And I don't know. We've never talked about this, so I don't know how you feel about it. But I feel like, if I'm pro deportation, I would have a hierarchy of of the hierarchy of deportation needs. And my hierarchy of deportation needs would start with turds, like criminals, rapists, felons, those people. It would also start with people who are recent arrivals, who snuck or gotaways, who snuck across the border. And then by the time I get to say people who were brought with their dreamers, people who were brought with their parents when they were 2 years old, never spoken language but English, are completely Americanized, I'd be like, those people are probably going to stay. And then we're going to have a hierarchy, a gray zone in the middle, and we're going to assess this using common sense. Like if someone's been here 20 years, they've never committed a crime, never gotten a parking ticket, always paid their taxes, worked hard, they have 10 references from their neighbors who say they're awesome, they can stay.
Well, then, if you've been here for 20 years paying your taxes with a stolen Social Security card, so that's another crime right there. If you've been here for that long...
You're paying into a system that's like breaking into the bank and making a deposit. That's what they did.
I do not care. Listen, I am very precise and very concise and very, what's the word? Unflinching on this particular topic. If you've been here 20 years and you have not taken the effort to become to get a green card,
you're hiding out because you're here illegally. What effort could you possibly make?
You could go talk to Susan Pye and say, "Hey, I want to know." Let's not pretend that there's not an avenue here for this stuff to work. There is. If you've been here for that long,
there is. From time to time, depending on the political winds, sometimes it's possible.
Well, I'm telling you right now, this is a hill I will 100% die on. I have zero problem with deporting every last man, woman, child. They're all gone.
But you don't think there should be an order of a sort of a basic prioritization? Like, for example, so if you're a cop, you see, and you're there to catch speeders, and it's in a 55 mile an hour zone, you make no difference between someone speeding 56 or someone going 120.
Oh, I'm 100% know the guy that's going 56. Guys, if you're going 120, you've earned it.
All right, we have a different outlook.
No, that was sarcasm. But no, I mean, the way that I would do it, again, if I was a cop, it's up to me because I don't have any power. If I was, let's just say through some fluke, if I got elected president before I got assassinated by AIPAC and the Jewish lobby, I would deport all of the criminals first who are in the prisons. Why are we paying to house them? Why are we doing that? And the countries will take them back. Again, put the screws to those countries. They take back the criminals.
But to your point, Robbie, about your point about laws, your whole point about laws, if we're a nation of laws, those laws are also applicable to all illegals, even if they're illegal. We have laws that are applicable to them. And if we're kidnapping them off the street and sending them to Alligator, Alcatraz, where they have no connection to phones, lawyers, any kind of
hold on. This is dumb.
Horrible.
But to Manila's point, Robbie, because there's no due process, you can be kidnapped by ICE goons off the street, and you're like, I'm a fucking American citizen. I was born here.
Tell that to the Gators.
Shut the fuck up, gangbanger. You're Mr. Trende Aragua. And then
you've got a shaved head.
And then you're there. And you're down, and then there you are. And it's like, oh, I want a lawyer, bitches. And they're like, fuck off. No lawyer for you.
That's right.
That's the problem.
That's how this happens. That is the problem here.
I mean, literally, not to mention, they have swept up some U.S.-born American, true blue, red, white, and blue Americans and sent them to ICE gulags.
Well,
Ted, have you heard in L.A.?
I think this whole ICE thing.
some of the brown people, some of the Mexicans, they're Mexican American, and they got scooped up. I have friends, Ted, that are ethnically Mexican, but believe it or not, they were born.
Is that allowed?
They were born in California. So weird.
No way.
Super
I bet they eat
weird.
tortillas too.
They do. They do. Super weird. Super weird.
Make tortilla eating illegal again.
They're like, we're Mexican, but then none of my friends actually.
Scott's going to kill me if I don't go soon. But
all right, so that's so we know Robbie's position. But we had to bring this on. I mean, the news here is obviously alligator Alcatraz is real. This is Robbie's motherland, out in the Florida swamplands, in the hinterlands of Florida. So he would know, and you guys already know his position on this. And this was like, it's just wild. It's just wild that, like, I used to joke with Robbie that this would be a dream come true for him at the southern border, is like dig a moat, throw some gators in there, and then more will come through. I used to joke about it like years ago, and now here we are. Like, it was a joke. I was joking about it. And here we are. I know you weren't. And here, but I just can't believe it. Like, it's actually happening.
There are no jokes. There's only bad humor.
Good.
So that's that.
All I can say is do more of it. Make them leave. Get them out of my country. Goodbye. No apologies here.
They don't need to be eaten by gators.
Then they can freaking leave.
God.
Well, how would you feel if they were eaten by caimans? Would that be better?
Listen. Either way, it's ecologically sound. Okay, it's a good source of protein. I mean, Mother Nature it has a self-correcting mechanism. This will work. This is an ecologically sound system. You're just like hanging. No, you can reuse the rope. You can use hemp. There's no chemicals involved. And the environmentalists should be behind this effort. You're reducing the carbon footprint.
That does it for the
problem
three
is
of
they're
us.
going to pave over wetlands, right? And those really are delicate. That's a very delicate, important part of it's Florida's lungs, basically, right?
Dr. Reese would shake his finger at this. No.
I mean, the Everglades are a super important place.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't put them in the Everglades. I would stick them on one of the keys. Just stick them out there on the island. Just like, here you go.
You know, those keys are really small.
I know.
Yeah.
Just stack them up.
Like an apartment.
So weird. All right.
$245 a night just seems like too much.
That's exorbitant. And food,
but that's insane. Listen, right now I'm sleeping on an air mattress. Okay, if I can sleep on an air mattress because I'm trying to move, these migrants sleep on air mattresses too. And that's the last word. Let's go because Ted's got to go.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in on this Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys hit the like and the follow button or the subscribe, depending on which platform you're watching. And I hope you guys will be back and help us grow this channel. Hit that subscribe button, please, over in YouTube world. Even the haters, like, don't be a shit ass, man. If you're gonna throw some shade in the comments,
shittery,
then at least hit the subscribe button so you can come back and throw more shade. And maybe I'll talk shit back to you personally, because I know that gives you a nice little woohoo,
real quick,
little woo-woo.
Oh, real quick,
So,
a quick programming note.
I'll only fight back if you subscribe.
I did we did the premium show yesterday. I'm going to air that on Rumble as soon as this show is over.
Oh, cool.
So
very good. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you.
And actually, it's a really good premium episode. Stay tuned to it. It's
very informative.
It's with Scott Stannis and Robbie and I, and it's about famous last stands in world history. Very cool.
It's history. Yeah, it's a history lesson. Adios, amigos. Bye.
Bye, Robbie. Bye, Manila.